Hello, I'm George Coll, introducing a new three-part series. And I want to welcome YouTube and U-Screeners today. YouTube, I'm providing part one of these three-part series for you. And if you like part one and want to join the crew, come on over and migrate to U-Screen, a paid platform. The challenge in this painting is what to do with a great reference, but the foreground really isn't that interesting. And so we introduce how to bring in better foregrounds and how to combine different photo references to make something really interesting. So that's what we did, and how to make that all look like it's all one piece, that nature actually made it. So with that, that's what we go through and do today. Today's block in, and we cover the whole canvas with paint and put on thin paint so that we can get ready for part 2 and 3 and see how our different values and value colors are working together. All right, so with that, let's get to today's painting. Thanks for coming by. Hello and welcome to part 1 of a 3-part series, a landscape painting of which I do not have a name for as yet, but one will come, I think, as we go through the process. I'm going to be painting on a 12 by 14 canvas, and the reason I have these two other paintings here is because you can see I've taken elements from this painting, the lower part, which you can see on the reference, and I've taken the upper part for the upper part of the painting. Now, you can see from the reference it's kind of a porous composition, because you can see I cut I think my photograph in half or something to try to combine those things for you all here on U-Screen and YouTube, so that you can kind of get a sense of where we want to go. So let me talk just a few more minutes to make a few more points on this reference. The reference I can see is that the foreground splice with the strong line coming across is below center, and then the mountains are above that. I think the beaver pond in the reference is too far to the right, and I want to move it over to the left more. And you can see in this painting that I did that I moved it over to the left. And that's what I'm going to do. So I try to combine the good stuff from various places, and of course if something in nature isn't in the right place, I change it around to make it a better composition. I'm going to be concentrating on the basic palette: blue, red, yellow. Naples, which is a warm mixture; coal gray, which is a cool mixture; raw sienna; burnt sienna; Viridian green, and I think I've got some purple and some other stuff over into the left. Don't pay any attention to that. We might use it or we may not later. It's left over from last week's paintings. I have titanium white on the lower right. Looks like I've got a 10, and then I have a rosemary 6, and looks like a filbert 4 that's worn down. So I think one thing I can tell about this worn down 4 is that it's loose. The head's loose. This sometimes happens. See, it's going back and forth. So I'm going to try to crimp it, and sometimes I can ruin it or make it better. And I think that stiffened it there. I've taken some of the wobble out, and it looks like I have a number 2. All right, let's get to painting. First thing we want to do in part 1 is figure out where the shapes are going to be. So with that, let's make a drawing color. So let's make a blue, a burnt sienna, and a white. And it makes a beautiful gray, cool gray. Since I'm working on a stark white canvas, I don't have to make anything too dark. So I'm going to use my number 2. And remember I said that I think the beaver ponds is below center, so here's my below center somewhere in here. All right, and from there I have some mountains coming up. And wait, I need a bigger stuff here. And then big mountain coming here. Kind of a so those are the mountains. And now I want to take some foreground ideas from the painting that I did before. See these tree designs here? Instead of using these big trees I see on the reference, I'm going to make some smaller trees. So like over here I'll have some trees, and over here I'm going to have trees also. And what I'm doing, I'm not doing it very well, is I'll add some more blue so you can see it better, is have some designs of trees that are sloping down. And I'll leave an open area here. And then I can show some shadows coming down here. Okay. And now we need some sort of a beaver pond design. It's kind of hard to work over here, so let me make some rough designs. And I'll have some water coming in from here too. And then there's some other areas coming into the pond here too. And let's put a little bit of a slope coming in here with some smaller trees in this area to break up this area. When you have big areas, I try to put something in it or balance out the painting. Okay, I think that's my basic sketch. So let me get back. What I think is so important when you're painting is to get back at all stages and take a look at your painting. Some people have reverse mirrors and stuff like that to use. I just find what I do is when I paint, I stand up to paint because it's easier for me to get back and do the things that, get a different perspective of my painting. Okay, so with that, let's refine some of these shapes. So I'm going to refine with more blue. I'm adding more blue to my mixture of gray that I made up earlier. And I know there's some shadow here. And it's kind of just adding some trying to get some idea of I like this snowfield coming down. This is the Tetons in the back. And the foreground, I believe, is the beaver ponds up in the Medicine Bows, or I mean the Snowy Range right above the Colorado border in Wyoming. Now, I think this has to come down. And there's some dark designs in some various places up in this area. But let's get some refinement here. I think I need to get rid of that area and have some shadow area in here. And I need to move this away. Excuse me for knocking the computer around. I have Ann with me this morning on Zoom. Okay, here we go. All right. I'm wondering if this area is too prominent, so I'm going to lower this to here and make this the higher guy, because I don't want the Teton experts to say, hey, you screwed that up. People really look at the Tetons. It's like when you draw horses, you got to get horses right. Most mountains you can kind of get by with your imagination, but with the Tetons you have to watch out for the Teton police. All right. Now I'm going to change from this number 2 to a wider brush. So I'm picking up a number 6 flat. And I'm going to add some more blue to the mixture and a little bit more white. I've thinned it out with a little bit of terp, and I'm going to start putting in some of the values here. So I'm still basically using the same mixture I started with. And we're going to start making it lighter and darker depending on where we're going to be going with this painting. I should be using not such a good brush so early in the painting. So I'm going to, this is a brand new rosemary, I'm going to retire that and go to this Pro Stroke. It's a little older, a little bit more flared out, because I am doing a lot of just scrubbing here. Okay, that's good. I think it might be a little too dark. And now I'm going to add more blue and more burnt sienna. More blue, more burnt sienna. And let's go to the darker values. I'm going to have some trees come right down to the base of the field here, of the beaver pond area. More blue, more burnt sienna. That's a little too dark there, but okay. And of course, I think another darker value is going to be the beaver pond design. So I am going to commit to some sort of darker area. When I mean commit, I'm getting a stronger value in here. And we have this nice strong abstract shape here in the foreground. And that is the beaver pond. Let's get back and see. Okay, so far so good. And what can I do now with this mixture? Let's mix it up and see what I can do with it. I think for now I need to just leave it over to the side. Let's start with the sky and move down. So let's get some cerulean, viridian, and a little bit of gray over to the side. Gray and white. This is cool gray. And let's make a cloud design. I'm going to the gray. And I kind of like the design here that we have with the reference. And I'm going to be putting some gray here and here. And a few other grays in areas there. And now I'm going to clean my brush and move to the cool sky color, which I made from cerulean and viridian and titanium white. Again, I'm not trying to come up with a finished painting with this. I'm putting in thin colors, thin paint at this time. Got plenty of time to do that in part 2 and 3. We're going thin so we can build on top of it and get the right values right. And if it's the drawing's wrong, I can erase it easier. There's many ways to start a painting. Mine's a little bit more conventional in starting landscape painting. Kind of learned this, plein air painting. All right, so those are the basis for the cloud and sky. And you say, boy, those clouds are awfully gray. Well, what I want to do, as I can show you an example of, I'm going to be adding white to them tomorrow with big, bold strokes like that. But let's hold off on that until later. So now let's, I've got this blue over here. Let me add a little cerulean or ultra blue to it, and then some lemon and some titanium white. And let's get some of these luscious greens in there. That's too green, so let's calm it down with some white. And I think that's just about right. Okay, so let's get this in various places. Again, let's put it in thin, because we can paint over it, put blues on it, and do all kinds of things with it. When you start out too thick, it's just hard to work with it. Let's just get some ideas of getting these value colors in the right place. All right. I think I need to go back with some ultra blue and gray in some places. I'm filling in some blanks. And now we need kind of a gray blue color up on top. So let's go to gray and let's go to ultra blue. I need more gray and more titanium. It's got to be light. It's got to be really light in value. Let's add just a touch of warmth, which would be Naples. Naples yellow. And let's apply that up in the mountains. I know there's snow fields and stuff like that. That's still too dark. More white, titanium white. There we go. Perfect. Now, George, put it on thin. Do what I say, not what I do. That was too thick. And let's run some of this light gray through, fade out some of this green in the background. I'm going to fade out some green up in here too. Now I have some canvas showing. I can say, okay, that's going to be snow. I need a stronger green up front. I think I'm going to add make some more green, which would be ultra blue and lemon. Let's add some gray to it. And now white. And let's get some darker greens up in this area. Boy, that's going on dry. I need to loosen that up a little bit. So I added just a little bit of terp. And you can see we are now starting to tell the story of what's going on here by adding our value colors. I think this is going uphill. My line wasn't so horizontal, so I just tried to straighten it and make it more horizontal. Okay, now foreground. All right, that's a lot of yellow in that green. So I'm adding lemon to this green color we put up here. And that's too strong. So let's add a touch of gray and white and white. And get that in there. You know, before I get too far down the road, I forgot I put some structures up here, some trees, some verticals. So let's go back to burnt sienna, ultra blue, gray, gray, and I better get these filled in. And I think I better put this darker green I have here, I'll put some of that in, right in here. Let's get some grease in there. Not grease, but terp. Odorless terp. And sorry for my chin being in the way, but I have to kind of figure out where these shapes are going to be. Okay, that's enough for right now. Let's go back to putting these nice light yellow greens in. Let's load up on that. Go in thin, and let's let her rip. Okay. I'm really concentrating on trying not to contaminate my brush by getting too close to these darks. I just kind of come up and give them a little kiss, and if I get some contamination, I just rub it into my pure pile like I'm doing. You can see from the overhead. And if you want to put some of this up in the here, you can lighten that up. And I need some of the darker green to keep things flat here. All right, let me get back. I have so many halos around here. Halos meaning my whites coming through. We've been experimenting with toned canvases the last 2 or 3 paintings, and that sure helps with halo problems. Halos meaning the canvas, the white canvas is peeking through. If you have a toned canvas, it's some of it peeks through, it's not a big problem. Okay, let me get back and see how this is coming along. Okay. I have a couple minutes left, and when I got back, I realized my mountains in places in the granite part or the stone part could use a little bit darker gray, so I added some more gray and some blue. And I see some of this darker stuff in various places. And I'm doing this just because I have a little bit more time and I can do more of this tomorrow. But why not get it done now? Perhaps you can see this by looking at the reference why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm emulating some things that I see. That's pretty crude, I can tell you. Yes, I know that. And I'm going to put some green inside these blues I have, just because I have some of this darker green left over. And I'm just about run out of product. And that's about all I can get done today. Keeping in mind, I want to stay in that 30-minute area and not tire you guys out so much, because we have done a lot. We basically started with a blank canvas, and here we are. So, I think with that, let's bring this session to an end. And thank you so much for coming by. I'm going to welcome the YouTubers who I put on part ones on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in on this, and hope you can migrate over to my paid platform on Uscreen to do part 2 and 3. Hope you can become a member. Less than $10 a month. Very affordable. Okay. Let's, with that, bring this to a close and say, we'll see you in part 2. All right. Bye-bye.